A California teacher stood firm in her faith and refused to kowtow to her district's transgender directives, and it paid off big time. Jessica Tapia and her attorney join me next. The Rainbow Mafia is coming for your kids. Don't take my word for it. They're happy to declare it with fanfare and applause. So you can choose not to go to a drag queen story hour or to a pride parade, but what about when that forced agenda is thrust upon your kids at school or on you in the workplace? And worse, what if you happen to be in a state like California, a state where every month is Pride Month? Well, you can either sit down and shut up, take it on the chin, or you can stand up and say no. And that's exactly what my next guest and her attorney were brave enough to do. Jessica Tapia was a PE teacher in California's Jurupa Unified School District. Though her district pushed her to use preferred pronouns to hide student gender identities from parents and to cloak her own Christian conservative views online, she refused. They cited her, they disciplined her, and then fired her for it. But it was Jessica who got the last laugh because she sued in federal court and later settled with the district for $360,000. But it's not about the dollar sign. It's about having the courage to fight back. Jessica Tapia and her attorney, Julianne Fleischer, join me now. It's great to have both of you ladies. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having us.
So, Jessica, I want to start with you. You know, this story has gotten some headlines and some press, but a lot of people are still a little confused as to exactly what went down, the timeline of events. So, in your own words, can you just explain to me what life was like for you living under this directive and why you decided to fight back and how?
Sure. So I would first of all say I never really had to live under it. How I learned of these directives is after students sought me out on social media. They found my Christian conservative beliefs there, and they submitted several posts of mine to the school district. So when the school district also learned of my Christian conservative views, that's when they decided we need to make her aware of these transgender directives and give her the ultimatum to follow them or she's going to lose her job. And so that is when I learned that I was now going to be expected to call students by their preferred pronoun or gender, lie to parents about that information, and then also let boys in my girls' locker room. So I was completely convicted over those. I knew I could not return to work and follow those. I wouldn't do that. And so from there, I actually went on stress leave to discern what to do next because in my eyes, I had three options: put my head in the sand to save my salary, walk away and resign, which would have been quitting, or take a stand and speak up, even if it meant sacrificing my job, but knowing that I won't go wrong for doing what's right. And so in the end, that's what God led me to do. And yes, it did end me in termination, but so much good has come out of my stand. And, this victory is just another blessing the Lord has provided. But the ultimate victory was just standing for the truth.
Absolutely. And I want to talk to you more about how that all went down. But I also want to bring your attorney, Julianne, in here because I know that, and I've had several interviews with people in a similar situation, whether they be parents or teachers or even students who feel like they have to live under the thumb of what this is. And they don't feel like they have legal recourse to get out of it or to back out of it or to stand up or to say anything at all. So you got to explain to those out there who are in a similar situation, what are the legal ramifications, guidelines, consequences for what Jessica and so many others are being put through?
Yeah, it's amazing because when Jessica came to our firm and told us exactly what happened, it was a very clear cut. This is a violation of Jessica's First Amendment rights. And thank goodness we have the First Amendment that protects individuals like Jessica, their free speech rights, their free exercise of religion rights. And so we knew that what the district was doing essentially was putting forth its own religious ideology regarding these trans policies and saying, Jessica, you need to comply with our own religious ideology or you're no longer qualified to serve as a public school teacher. And the First Amendment absolutely prohibits any government entity from taking actions like that. And so not only do you have the First Amendment that protects you, you also have Title VII, which requires any employer to accommodate an individual's religious beliefs. Jessica sought accommodation for her religious beliefs. She didn't want to lie to parents. She didn't want to lie to students. And she most certainly didn't want to lie to herself and deny her own religious religious beliefs, and the school district had a duty to accommodate those religious beliefs, and they failed to do that. And so the law is on our side. The law was on Jessica's side. And then also what I would say, even to parents who, are faced with, they're putting their kids in public schools and feel like they have no say in the matter, but they absolutely do. The government does not own your kids. You are the parent. You have the best interest for your child at heart and in mind. And thankfully, again, we have the laws on the side of the parent, who parents have a federally protected right to raise the upbringing of their children. And so we want teachers to know that they have federal rights that are protected. Transgender students have rights as well, but that doesn't mean that an individual's free speech rights or religious rights are second class to anyone else's rights. And thank goodness that we have the First Amendment. And so people like Jessica, we want to encourage to stand up and be bold because the law is absolutely on your side.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people are really confused as to where that line is right now. And I think it kind of depends on where you are, and it kind of depends on how much you're willing to fight. But Jessica, I want to go back to all this because you mentioned that your personal views were sought out on social media. It was almost like they wanted to say, well, this woman seems to be a Christian and a conservative, so we're going to find a way to push her boundaries, and we're going to find a way to really make life difficult for her, make her bow down to our rainbow alphabet and whatever that means. So when you were confronted with this, and you were confronted with, your own free speech and all that, how did that play out? And did you have any students that said, hey, I want to be called they, them, or hey, I want to go use the women's bathroom? I mean, walk me through what that was like in practice before the whole legality got brought into play.
Right. I feel like that's the most interesting part of my story is I didn't actually have a situation with a transgender student. I didn't have any transgender students in my class. Again, students, for whatever reason, whether they wanted to see my little ones that I talk about or my horse, I don't know, but they sought me out on social media, and that's my personal page where I'm outspoken about my Christian conservative beliefs. And I talk about things that I don't talk about in class. But the things that I post about make it very clear where I stand with gender ideology, with this pride clothing that's being made for toddlers and babies now. Those are the types of things I would post about. And so, of course, a 14, 15-year-old saw those things and looked at me as someone who needed to be canceled because my beliefs don't align with society today. And so that is when they realized they had something that they could do in submitting my posts and getting the district to, believe that I'm not fit to be a teacher, that I'm quote unquote discriminatory or disrespectful to students. And so it was a really bizarre thing to go through, to have my school district actually slide papers across the table to me of screenshots of my very own posts, which were Bible verses, quotes in the faith, truth, simply truth. And that is the moment I realized there really is a war on truth right now, and we have got to stand firm like never before.
So Jessica, do you think if you instead would have posted justice for George Floyd or love wins, love everybody, love who you love, they, them, I mean, you name it, BLM, do you think that you would have been met with the same resistance from your district and from the students and others that sought out your beliefs to essentially railroad you?
Oh, I would have just been met with affirmation and acceptance. Those are the very things that they would like to see from teachers. And my posts are in opposition to all of those things.
So, Julianne, I want to ask you if this was something that did translate to the actual classroom, because there's been many other cases where parents and even students are rightfully so pretty agitated because they see other teachers who, unlike Jessica, who are posting about it on their personal social media, are actually putting up BLM flags, or they're putting pride flags everywhere, or, even worse, they're really preaching about these issues, preaching about their politics, their hatred of Donald Trump. I mean, you name it, it's happened. What are the legal ramifications of that? Are teachers allowed to do that and allowed to put that up in a taxpayer-funded classroom?
Well, that's just it. It's the districts, it's the school teachers, it's one set of religious ideology. And I think, as evidenced by Jessica's case, we're seeing where one type of ideology is quote unquote permitted, and one ideology or one religious foundation belief system that's rooted in the Bible is not permitted. And so that's very clearly a violation of the First Amendment. Again, teachers, when they go to school, when students go to school, they don't have to leave their religious beliefs at the schoolhouse gates. We want our school systems to be a place that ideas can be freely exchanged, but we're not seeing that in our school systems. We're seeing one message be accepted, promoted, and if you don't accept or promote that message, then you're considered bigoted, or you're no longer considered, accepted in the school system. And so that's not allowed, and that's why we need more teachers, more parents, and students to stand up and say that, my voice has a place here, my beliefs have a place here, and until we see more people like Jessica standing up, these ideologies, the person with the loudest voice is going to continue to have the platform. And so there are, again, this is why the First Amendment exists, so that people have freedom of speech and are able to exercise their religious beliefs. But that shouldn't be at the sacrifice of your job, and that certainly shouldn't be a requirement that when you go into your classroom, you have no beliefs or religious beliefs that you can discuss.
Right. Jessica, I also want to ask you just kind of some of the cultural moments of the day. I mean, this is Pride Month, so it's everywhere. But before I get to this Miss Rachel thing, I want to ask you about Harrison Butker and his commencement speech that's gotten a lot of attention, a lot of praise, but also a lot of backlash. And, he's very similar to yourself. He's got his convictions. He's standing by them. He refuses to be canceled. He refuses to apologize. When you saw him deliver that speech and you saw the reaction, what was your reaction?
First of all, I just commend him for delivering the speech that he did. I so wish that I could go back and have someone tell me when I was a young girl, or even just a young adult, that my greatest heart desire when I became a woman would be to get married and have children and be home raising them. No one ever told me that. So I put my head down and I went to college for 7 years to become a teacher. And I very much experienced the whole thing that many moms do, working moms do experience, where they go to work and they have to leave their babies behind. And it is the most painful thing possibly that a woman can go through, that those torn feelings of, I need to go to work and I should go to work, but now I have this baby that I want to be home raising and taking care of the home and, supporting and helping my husband. That's where I want my focus to be. And so I've lived through all of that. And I thank him for delivering the speech that he did, because I've made it a promise to myself and my young children that I'm going to make sure they know that that is going to be my daughters. It's going to be their greatest heart desire, and they can very much go get a college degree. But just know this is going to come up where when you get married and you have children, you are going to realize that that was and is your greatest calling from the Lord.
Well, it's beautiful that he's able to express himself in such a platform, and to get so many people that might not agree with him that stand behind his right to say it, which is why a lot of people support you and your right to say it. So I want to get to this Miss Rachel thing. I'm not somebody who watches kiddie things on YouTube. I'm not a parent. So when I see this Miss Rachel stuff, it's kind of an enigma to me. I don't really understand it, but I'm sure you're very familiar. A little bit of backlash for this as well. Somebody that's a notable figure on YouTube that's especially popular with young people and parents, decided to give a pride salute. I want to play the clip and get your reaction, Jessica.
Happy Pride to all of our wonderful families and friends. This month and every month I celebrate you. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you're exactly who you are. To those who are going to comment they can't watch the show anymore because of the support, no worries and much love your way. God bless. I am not chasing fame or views. I'm standing strong in love.
Not chasing fame or views. Okay. Well, that aside, It feels like a lot of this pride stuff is being thrust upon young people. This is far from something that's just for adults. Pride parades are, all ages. Drag Queen Story Hour being pushed for all ages. But when you see somebody like a Miss Rachel going on and talking about this pride stuff, what do you think the motivation is behind that?
First and foremost, I have to say, I watched this clip earlier this week. I actually remixed it and lost hundreds of followers for doing so. But I cringed at the fact that she said, God bless, in the same video or sentence that she is celebrating pride. Pride is literally a sin. And so, how one can say God bless in the same sentence that they uplift the very sin that we are seeing just overcome the world and destroy the lives of young ones is just horrific to me. And so I think that she needs to be exposed for this. She's clearly an adult who, if a young child were to come to her with any sort of gender confusion, she would very much affirm it and go along with it. And we know that is the worst thing you could do for a child who is dealing with confusion, is just go along with the lies and confusion and not truly try to get to the root of what's causing that mental and emotional distress. So it's very disheartening to see someone who has such a large impact on very, very young children take this sort of stand. But we need to just continue to expose what's evil and show moms that there are much better YouTubers out there that will educate their children in truth.
Yeah. In closing, Julianne, I want to ask you, because I'm sure that there are a lot of people watching this, whether they're parents or whether they're students or whether they are, in the teaching profession, that are like, oh my gosh, this happened to me and I didn't know there was recourse. Where can they go and how can they seek out legal guidance on what their options are if they're in that position?
Yeah, so something that's really neat about Jessica's case and really the victory you mentioned at the beginning, that this wasn't just about the dollar amount, and it's not just about the dollar amount. It's about the principle, and it's about standing up for truth. And so, after the conclusion of Jessica's case, Jessica, together with our organization, Advocates for Faith and Freedom, we launched a campaign called "Teachers Don't Lie," which stems again from the fact that teachers don't lie to parents. Teachers don't lie to students, and teachers shouldn't be lying to themselves and denying their own beliefs and convictions. And so we have a website, www.teachersdon'tlie.com, where teachers can go. They can learn what their rights are. They can connect with other teachers. And if they need legal help, they can reach out to our organization as well. We are blessed to be a legal ministry. We're a pro bono organization, which means we're able to provide our legal services free of charge to our clients because we believe in the principles of the First Amendment, and we rely on donors who also believe in the principles of the First Amendment who contribute to our organization. And so teachers, parents, students, they can go to teachersdon'tlie.com, and that also connects to our firm's organization, the website as well, and they can get a bunch of different resources.
That's so wonderful and it's so powerful because a lot of people don't know where to start when they're facing any kind of legal battle. And it seems like, a heavy burden to carry, especially if you're somebody who has limited resources. So that's fantastic. I want to thank you both for your conviction, for your willingness to speak out and to stand up. It's not always an easy thing to do, but both of you make it look easy and you give people a lot of hope and inspiration, not only because you won your battle, but because you were brave enough to fight it. So I appreciate both of you. Thank you for taking the time and God bless you.
Thank you, Tomi.
Thank you, guys. All right, folks, that does it for this special episode of Tomi Lahren is Fearless. Please be sure to go visit the new Tomi Lahren is Fearless YouTube channel and like and subscribe for full episodes. I will see you right back here live Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern. But until then, from Nashville, God bless and take care. What's up, guys? Thank you for watching Tomi Lahren is Fearless. If you want more of my hottest takes, must-see conversations, and of course, my final thoughts, click here and make sure you subscribe here so you'll never miss a beat. I'll be here every weekday and I hope you'll join me.